Hey folks, it's Chris, and I want to talk to you about a trend that was especially prominent throughout the 1980s, and that was taking mascots for food products and deciding that they were somehow interesting enough that they could support other media. We're talking TV shows and video games for characters like the California Raisins, the Noid from Domino's, what else? Spot from 7-Up Soda, and the guy that I want to talk to you about today, the Kool-Aid Man. So the Kool-Aid Man had actually been sort of this big live-action, 6-foot-tall pitcher of talking Kool-Aid in commercials from about the mid-1970s. And by the 80s, oh my gosh, I felt like I saw him everywhere. As a kid watching cartoons, any programming aimed at me, the Kool-Aid Man would show up. And sure enough, in the 80s, he got his own comic book. Technically, he had 2 runs. Because from 83 to 84, Marvel Comics produced 3 issues about Kool-Aid Man, and then he sort of went dormant in the world of comics for a while. But by 1988, Archie Comics picked it back up and continued the numbering. They picked up with issue number 4, and that's the one I'm going to show you today. But let's just talk for just a second about Kool-Aid Man himself. He was nothing more than a gigantic pitcher of strawberry Kool-Aid, essentially sugar water, and he could talk. There were about 3 tropes that I can think of because these commercials were super short, but they always involved the following: super thirsty kids, Kool-Aid Man breaking through a wall or a ceiling, and, of course, his catchphrase, "Oh yeah!" We all know that. Kool-Aid is a refreshing drink for summertime. So you know what? Let's take this episode outside and review Kool-Aid Man in comic book form. This issue of Kool-Aid Man is called Mystery of the Missing Key, and let me just say that mystery is vastly overstating things. It begins with a relatively diverse group of kids riding their bikes in the mountains when all of a sudden they realize that they are, quote, miles from civilization, and they're very thirsty because they forgot to bring water. That means that we've hit our first trope within the first couple of panels. Kids mentioning that they're thirsty.
Wow, it is great.
Oh my god, that was so much more water than I expected. Oh. And it's worth mentioning that thirsty kids bring out Kool-Aid Man. That's his catnip. Kool-Aid Man emerges and shouts his beautiful catchphrase, "Oh yeah!" Kool-Aid Man invites the kids to come to his place. Now, I would say that this is stranger danger. These kids don't know Kool-Aid Man or what he's up to. But you know what? If these kids were concerned about danger, they probably wouldn't have driven miles from civilization without any water. So, they instantly follow Kool-Aid Man deeper into the woods. At least Betsy shows a little bit of caution when she finally asks Kool-Aid Man where they're going, but he just continues to lead these kids deeper into the woods, and they do not question Kool-Aid Man on why he has idols erected honoring himself, or how Kool-Aid Man is able to terraform whole forests into fruity wonderlands. Betsy is definitely the most sensible of these kids, which isn't saying much, but she says, "Where are we going?" She finally is starting to worry, and Kool-Aid Man says, "To the most fun place on earth." Kool-Aid Man's rarely changing grin has never seemed so terrifying. Kool-Aid Man eventually explains that he's taking them to a vault filled with toys. Now, I'd call this a giant red flag, but Kool-Aid Man himself is literally a walking red pitcher. Close enough. By the way, Kool-Aid Man's vault has a welcome mat. Very smart, very secure for a vault to have a welcome mat. This is the least secure place ever. The key is in the most obvious spot. That's right, it's right under the welcome mat. Kool-Aid Man warns the kids that the problem is that there's a guy named Scorch who wants to steal the toys from his vault. I gotta say, Scorch must be terrible at stealing if he hasn't figured out how to get into this vault. We finally see Scorch, and he is a bizarre little creature, some sort of eternally burning midget. I really can't describe him. At least he has cool sunglasses and a cool catchphrase. He likes to shout, "Roast my toast." I'm not sure exactly what Scorch is, but I think he is an improvement over the Thirsties, which were the evil enemies of Kool-Aid Man in the Marvel Comics. Whatever Scorch is, he wilts plants wherever he walks, and he leaves burning footprints, not just burning footprints, but burning footprints stamped with his initial, S. I gotta say, Scorch is actually weirder than a giant talking pitcher of Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid Man takes the kids into the vault, and he wisely leaves the key right there in the lock for anyone to see. With all this buildup, we've got to see what's in this vault, right? Can you just imagine all those amazing toys and prizes that these kids are psyched to see that Kool-Aid Man is talking up? Well, guess what? We instantly cut to the kids coming out and just saying, "Oh yeah, it looked cool." Yeah, we never see what's in that vault. The kids are pretty excited about this vault. They come out and say, awesome, which I guess represents that they're really, really psyched. It was probably just a warehouse, but the kids are excited, so I wish we got to see it. We don't. Everybody instantly notices that the key is missing, and while looking for clues, Betsy gets down real close to the ground, and she mentions that there are wilted flowers, even though her face is inches from burning footprints. And then Kool-Aid Man pretends that he's figured this out from Betsy's clues, saying, "Oh yeah, I think that this is Scorch's doing. We're gonna follow up on this." Now, is Kool-Aid Man just patronizing her? The group decides that they will actually follow the clues, and Kool-Aid Man punctuates this by shouting, "Oh yeah!" There's no way to brace yourself for that. Oh, that's miserable. On the next page, Kool-Aid Man has changed his clothes. Formerly, he was wearing bike gear, and now he's in some sort of safari costume. My question is, when did he change his outfit? Because I strongly suspect he did it in front of those kids, and he probably said that he needed help. In addition to Scorch's burning footprints, he has kindly left them a clue at the first intersection they come across. Scorch is like some sort of knockoff Riddler. Scorch's clue reads, "You're grasping for straws," underlined. "That makes me very happy. Kool-Aid Man is due for a fall." Kool-Aid Man goes to work on this clue by reading the underlined words. Strawberry Falls? Strawberry Falls? Strawberry Falls! Yes, leave it to Kool-Aid Man's steel trap of a mind comprised of sugar water and ice cubes to deduce these very puzzling, enigmatic clues. In the next panel, one of the kids is instantly ready to give up. He says, "We've looked everywhere. Scorch isn't here." But the kid right next to him shoots that down, saying, "Scorch was here. Look at the message on the burned tree." These kids are just about blind. Scorch's next clue reads, "If you don't want to shrivel up like a raisin, jump in a lake." Betsy steps up with her deductive logic. "Batman, you're deposed as the world's greatest detective." Betsy explains. She explains to the group that a raisin is simply a dried up grape. And from there, the whole group can figure out that their next location to head to is the Grape Lakes. And apparently the most direct path to get to the Grape Lakes is climbing straight up over a tall mountain. Doesn't sound very efficient. Once the group gets to the top of the mountain, they look and they see a fire burning. Kool-Aid Man shouts, "Oh yeah!" Oh, I shouted "oh yeah" and I didn't get splashed with water. Guess somebody wasn't paying attention. So now Kool-Aid Man looks at... That was actually quite warm.
Surprise!
That felt good. That didn't feel bad at all. Thank you. Wow. Warm water does not feel bad to get hit with. I love it. Kool-Aid Man sees smoke coming from off in the distance and deduces that that's where Scorch is, and there are no twists or turns to this story. That's exactly where the smoke is coming from. Apparently, Scorch lives out in the woods in an old shack. It's just this really depressing, dilapidated shed, maybe? I don't know. It's just a really depressing place to live. Not only did Scorch have footprints going to his house, not only did he leave clues so that these kids and Kool-Aid Man could find where he was, but he instantly lit a fire and had smoke going. He could not have been any easier to find. Scorch is a total weirdo. In fact, how weird is he? Well, we next see him in a tub singing about how he's defeated Kool-Aid Man and ruined his day. This is how Scorch enjoys his leisure time. Scorch's bath time sing-along is interrupted when Kool-Aid Man engages in his patented move of shouting, "Oh yeah!" and kicking through a wall. That had ice cubes! Oh my god, and it got in my ear! Oh, 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 that's awful! By the way, it's worth noting that apparently Kool-Aid Man took the time to take off his clothes before he kicked through Scorch's tiny little shack. That's adding insult to injury. But Scorch has one last trick up his sleeve. He threatens to melt the key to the vault, but Kool-Aid Man decides, you know what? I think attacking Scorch would be the sensible play, more sensible than simply calling a locksmith. And Kool-Aid Man apparently could always just throw Kool-Aid on Scorch. That's how he beats him. He tosses a bunch of Kool-Aid from a separate, smaller pitcher, not the Kool-Aid that makes up his body, and we get some pretty badass sound effects here. This panel reads, sploosh, cyst, sizzle, fizzle. It may not be up there with snicked, bamf, or thwip, but it's pretty darn good. The weird thing is, while Scorch runs away, look at how the Kool-Aid has formed into some sort of hard plastic coating on him. What is this Kool-Aid made out of anyway? Knowing that Kool-Aid Man could always simply pour a little bit of juice on Scorch and that would defeat him really lowers the threat level of this villain. Kool-Aid Man thanks Betsy and the kids and tells them that he couldn't have done it without them and that they were a big help. I can only assume that's sarcasm. You guys were a big help. Because Kool-Aid Man did everything. To thank them, Kool-Aid Man goes back to the vault, and when he emerges, after Betsy wonders, what could he be doing in there? Kool-Aid Man magnanimously gifts the kids with water bottles, and they are very excited about this. Look at that word balloon. Wow, these are great! They're water bottles. And from there, Kool-Aid Man simply shows the kids the way back to town, and as Kool-Aid Man bikes away, we see Scorch hiding in the bushes, prepared to strike again, and he instantly does a few pages later in a story that maybe I'll cover another time. That's the surf competition. And there were a few more issues of Kool-Aid Man following this. Now, this story is just bizarre, as it would have to be if it stars a talking pitcher of juice. There's no way to make that normal. But I think it kind of embraces its goofiness. I think it's a hell of a lot of fun, considering it's basically just a free promotional book. And I gotta say, I'm a fan of artist Dan DeCarlo's artwork. He did the best Archie artwork of my generation. When I was growing up, he was the best artist. And I think his art is fun and youthful. If I got this comic as a kid, I probably wouldn't have really been able to separate its quality level from that of Spider-Man. To me, at a certain age, all comics were comics. It didn't have levels of quality as to how good something was. So whatever. As an adult, I look at it and it's utterly bizarre, but what other way could you possibly approach it? So I had fun. I hope you did too, and until next week, keep reading comics. Thank you as always for watching the episode. Just a reminder, we've got a Facebook page, so if you want to talk with other viewers or myself about anything about comics, that's the place to check out. If you want to support me, I've got a Patreon. If I'm a little distracted, it's because my cat has insisted on jumping up on my lap the whole episode. So I'm going to let him hang out now. I wanted to take a minute to say nobody gets to where they are alone. Everybody is supported by somebody. And of course, everybody watching this is supporting me, but I've had 4 people in particular that have reached out to their fan bases and mentioned and promoted me more than once. And I want to, in turn, just plug them because I really appreciate what these people have done for me. Each of them have given the channel boosts in viewership. So first of all, my friend Vincent at therobotspajamas.com. That's an interesting nerdy blog. That's sort of where this show first started getting promoted. I love that place. I write for it sometimes. I think you should check it out. My friend William Bruce West has his website, williambrucewest.com. He's mentioned my episodes several times. He's chatted with me online, given me feedback. I really appreciate that. There's Hooded Cobra Commander 788, who runs his own YouTube channel about reviewing vintage 1980s G.I. Joe stuff. He's been a fantastic resource. And then just this past week, animator Harry Partridge, who I've been a fan of for many, many years, for reasons unknown to me, has decided that he appreciates this channel, and he mentioned me to a lot of his followers, and we got a nice healthy boost from that. So I want to thank all 4 of them. There's plenty of other people who have plugged me in various social media, and I wouldn't be here without that kind of support. So if you've shared this with people, I just want to say it means a lot to me. Thank you. All right, see you next week.